Hey guys, it's Anthony again. Basically doing the second tutorial. So this one is going to be a tutorial on this bar down here, really. So it'll be just going on unit stats, and basically just going through different parts of what makes up a unit, really. So showing you here. So this is Edwin. So as an example. So again, as he's a hero, he's sort of a little bit different from the other units. He's much stronger in general, and that's the same for the other heroes. Slight difference with him is that he can level up to level 10, as can all the other heroes, and each time he will increase his health a little bit more. So for 200 stats, that's how much experience he needs. And his armor. So armor's quite a it wasn't here when it first came out in early access, but armor is basically if at least the unit has at least one armor, then any attacks they receive, they will only take 30% damage. Now this is unless that last piece of armor is shredded, in which case the basic attack damage will basically do the full damage because the armor is no longer there. So shred will always basically be taken off first before the basic damage. So basically Edwin and I believe it's so 3 heroes. So the Order, Edwin, Merrick, and Aurelia are the ones with armor. So obviously that increases slightly, but Merrick is definitely the one who revolves around armor there. But we'll leave that. So his melee damage, so every hit he does, 15 damage he makes, or he does to enemies or crawlers or anything like that. And then his default attack time, so every 2 seconds he will do an attack. So it's just a good way of figuring out. So for every second he's basically doing 7.5 damage. But again, he might do 30 damage on a 20 HP enemy, but that'll still take the 4 seconds to actually hit him second time. And then his melee attack range, which is 1.3, so that's very close to him. But just to show you, so that's range attack time. That's damage. So yeah, range attack damage, so 3. So I believe that's about So they do squares in the game, so there's basically 3 squares away the archers can shoot from, and this can be upgraded, but just a base, just to show you that archers obviously have higher range, obviously, and then pikemen have 2, so they're sort of in between. They do have a much greater reach than melee units, others, but again they're not archers and they can't be upgraded. That's their for 1. So just get back to that. So move speed 1.7, so that is 1.7 squares a second is what he's moving at. And then his armor, so that's 20, so that's his basically base. So that obviously goes up. Not every unit has armor. Some units have no armor at all, so literally the shred that is done on them makes no difference. Shred doesn't do any damage, it just damages the shield, really, the armor. Vision is 5, so he's 5 squares away. And then he's got food cost, which is constantly taken away from the food rations, which is basically you start at 20, but you've got 1 unit, which is Edwin taking that greedy bugger, and you've got gold upkeep, which is 10. So yeah, the units, 7 units time, if it's 28 already gone because of these units. All units require upkeep, so you don't want to have a massive army because it will cost you a lot and it'll take a little bit more to constantly run them, and you'll get less per tick because of that. But again, obviously hero, you can't do anything about it, and they're worth that 10 gold.
Ready to face the dark.
So one other thing I want to show you on the units is the melee armor shred. So melee armor shred is basically that shredding effect on armored units. So Pikemen, for example, if they had got hit by 5 shred, they would go down to 5, but they would only take 30% damage of the melee damage, for example, which would be about 4. But if they got hit again, then they would actually take 13 damage and they would lose all their armor, because it's basically they've gone to 0 armor then. And so that's just how the armor mechanic works. Some elite units will have 2 or 3 shields, which then basically that 70% compounds on itself. So it's 70% of 70. So again, that makes the enemy a lot stronger, but that's only, to my knowledge, the elite nightmares that have that armor. So most of the time it'll just be 1 shield at most. But yeah, crawlers, for example, and there's spearmen, or spear nightmares it'll be, or wraiths, for example. Those, they don't have any armor, so you don't have to worry about it. But for other enemies, getting that armor down makes them so much easier to take down, really. But we'll leave that one there. So hopefully you've learned a bit more armor, and unit stats. One thing I will just talk about before we finish up is the emboldening as well. So bonus points, this is for every other unit in the game apart from the heroes. This is sort of their leveling system where they can go to basically a level 2, but that's it, they max out at level 2. But this emboldening increases their health, makes their regeneration much faster, so when they start regenerating they will heal within about 5 seconds, whereas before it'll be about 10 to 15, for example. And then just to go on the horrify effect, which some nightmares can give your units, basically when it slows down their horrify or their regeneration and slows them down. Now Vortists are resistant to the speed decrease and actually get a damage increase instead of a reduction to their damage. So that faction is a little bit more, takes advantage of the horrify effect, so possibly emboldening them is not the best idea sometimes, but that's just that, really. Again, will be explained a bit further on. And then just to quickly go on this, so you've got basically moves of, so you've got move here. Ooh. So basically, straightforward move button, and that stops them doing whatever they're doing, and then hold, pause that, and then it's basically hold their units or hold their formation. So he'll stay there now, even if their enemies around. So, and then patrol. So this one is, so wherever their units are, you can press there, and they'll just go back and forth. That's how they'll do it. Attack move, or attack, is basically focusing on a certain unit, but if you put it down on a certain area, then it will basically get them to attack everything in the way, and then it'll go forward rather than running through a crowd of nightmares and getting killed that way. And then formation is quite handy. Whenever you're moving or exploring, it means that certain units will be at the front, certain will be at the back. But it's also handy if you're in a defense, for example, and you want your pikemen to be there and keep that ground. Still stay there. And you've got target priorities. For melee units, it's not so much, not the biggest difference it makes, but for ranged units, especially those in towers, you want them to be targeting something that you want them to target. So you've got weakest, you've got closest, and then you've got the strongest. So each one has the different ways of doing it if you mix and match, depending on what towers you've got. So you've got some passive abilities as well.
The light burns strong.
Yeah, so just to go through the abilities as well while we're going through this part, is Enlighten is, for example, it's just a passive form where it's constantly, it's always active and it's always doing whatever it needs to do. So this one is, when he's level 2, he'll constantly help units emboldened by 10%. I believe this increases for every level as well. And then these are his active abilities where you actually have to activate them Now they'll either persist or they'll just be a one-time thing, and then they'll just recharge and cool down. Yeah, but that's they're all different for different users, so always give them a go. And I'll leave that tutorial there. And then I'll see you in the next one. So hopefully you learned something again. Please like and subscribe. Just let me know if there's anything you may have noticed that I may have missed out. I was learning really. So take care with that, and I'll see you in the next one.